What's going on? We're live now. So we're good. We're good. I'm just going to pull up this other page real quick before we really get started. Let's see here. Let's see. There we go. All right. I think we're good. I don't need this other page.
Spots, man. Hit some points.
What are you doing with yourself? I just saw you going like, you're like, just totally live. Everybody in the world can see you.
This is the power path. Sure.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. So, welcome. We'll get started here in just a minute. It just did turn 1 o'clock. So I got my coffee. We're ready to go. This one's going to be a little bit more like a podcast versus like pitch deck, slide deck kind of stuff. So we're going to relax and have some fun and talk about some situations that we've both been through. And when crap hits the fan, are you ready? So it's I've got some stories that I know, Sean, you're going to love. And like, just wait till I get into this one story, the one I was telling you about a second ago. So, but for everybody out there, if you're just joining, welcome to our weekly Wednesday training. I'm Kyle Fugit. This is Mr. Handsome Sean Scott. Look at all that buzz cut, ready to go, looking good with the Power Path hat in the background. I love it. I love it. I love it. So today, I'm still let a couple people jump on, but today we are talking about some situations. So when crap hits the fan, do you have your SOPs in place? Like, do you have a plan? Do you have the team members in place? Like, are you ready, or are you going to get caught with your pants down? That's really the question.
Yeah.
And like, we can't always predict everything that's going to happen, right? Like, we can just be so prepared, right?
You just find stuff out along the way. There's no question about it. But especially having like even a conversation like this, it's things that can happen. It's things that will happen, especially as you're growing this. You're going to have stuff that comes up that you got to take care of. I mean, that's part of being a property manager, and it's definitely the things that, we do come across. And when you have a problem, you solve it. That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah. So there's a couple things like, and the more we get into it, the faster I talk, because the more I love like interacting, teaching, all that stuff. So something that a lot of people like, they either have never been told, or they heard a long time ago, or it's just totally new information. And as we grow a business, your job as you grow and as you elevate and you become CEO and you roll into that role and you start hiring team members under you and you start building this company, the job of a CEO is to put out the fires that nobody else can put out. Like, that's the job. Like, if you talk to any like high level CEO, any high level business owner, they're like, I feel like I'm always in the trenches. I'm always putting out the fires. I'm always dealing with problems. I'm like, that's your job, right? Like the little problems, I don't want to say little problems, the regular problems, the fires that, that's where the rest of your team should they should catch, they should be able to go through, they should be able to figure out, like, that's kind of a daily routine for a lot of them, like especially or prevent them becoming problems. So your day-to-day operation should never actually like come across your plate unless you step in. Like Jill is stepping in right now. I think she's probably watching this, but
nice. She's
stepping in right now because she just lost a VA, and she had 4 of them. So she just lost a VA, and we were on a call yesterday, and she was like, I'm taking over I'm going into guest mode tomorrow for like, I don't remember, like 4 hours or something, or 6 hours, or maybe full shift. I don't remember. And I was like, cool. Like, she was like, I don't want to do this forever. I'm just doing it for this day to relieve her. I think it was her head VA. Like, she's going to relieve the whole shift for her head VA. She wants to do it. She wants to give her a day off. Like, that's when you kind of go back into the trenches, but you shouldn't stay there. So as owner, CEO, you should be looking at sales or growing or, increase in revenue or like those kind of things. You shouldn't be dealing with like the everyday stuff, but the everyday stuff can create problems. And as the problems come up, That's where you're kind of here to like catch. So if everybody could catch these massive problems, then they'd all be CEOs and business owners. You know, like that's just kind of how it works. So that's the first thing. Like people, a lot of people just don't know that. Like that's your job as CEO. You're there to catch the big problems when nobody else can figure them out. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is like, as you grow, there's reasons for SOPs. There's reasons for like Q&As. There's reasons for structure and rules because things happen that make you like, they make you add things to guest agreements. They make you add things to lease templates, like protocols, forms. Like that's what creates that. So you don't build awareness. You only build awareness through experience. Like I can tell you something all day, and then you're not going to realize it until you go through it, and you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, he was right." Like, I'm always right? Like every time I tell you, I'm like, "I told you." No, I'm just kidding. So, but today we're going to go through some fun stuff. Okay, so before we really jump in and get started, Sean, is there anything that you want to add to that?
Man,
throw in there.
Fun now when you think about it, but as you're going through it, it can be a little stressful. There's no doubt about it. But that's it. You know what I mean? You just keep a level head. You take care of the things that need to be done. That's what they're paying us for, you know, and it actually does start to be kind of fun, especially when you do start to, you know, establish the relationships, start to go through these things. You get a little bit stronger, you know, what don't kill you make you stronger. But ultimately, for this, you know, it just helps you to also add your value so that when you're talking to the next new person, you know what you bring to the table. You know that, hey, I'm going to handle everything for you. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about anything with me. I'm going to make sure that you have a 5-star experience, you know, and that's really what it's all about, I think, in the end. So every time you do go through these things, you get a little bit stronger. Your confidence grows in what you can do and what you're actually capable of. Let's go. You know, like let's keep on growing.
All right, so we wrote down a few situations that we're going to talk about. And I need to add one. The glow stick party. Hold on, I got to add the glow stick party.
Glow stick party.
Yeah, you just wait. I mean, it's just crazy stuff, right? Like, but I will put this out. It doesn't matter what business you're in, real estate, long-term rentals, short-term rentals, whatever. My grandparents own a mobile home park, and they've been renting since I think my grandfather was 16, having, you know, like being a landlord. And their lease agreement is like 20 pages. I don't think it's that long, but it's really long for a long-term rental lease agreement. And every year, even to today, every year they're adding something in because something else happened.
Right. And
my brother-in-law had a long-term rental that they were playing basketball, and the basketball goal fell, like the renters fell and hit the mailbox and destroyed the mailbox. And the renter was like, "You need to fix the mailbox. Like it came down, you know, it damaged or whatever. You need to fix it. It's your responsibility to replace it." And so they got in this huge fight. Like mail won't get delivered if there's not a place to deliver it, and it's illegal. Like you have to have a place to deliver it. You have to have, you know, some kind of receival box. And he had to go back in his lease agreement saying that the renter is responsible for the mailbox. The mailbox is there when they signed the lease agreement. I mean, they just had, like, it was just crazy. So as you go through and as you grow in business and all this, like, things happen and you just learn from them and roll on. So hopefully we can help you guys out. Maybe you get some laughs out of today. I know I will, even like reminiscing on some of these stories.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the situation. We're going to talk about what went right, and we're going to talk about what we could have done better and how you can prevent it. Okay. So I'm going to start with our biggest story, our biggest situation we still talk about today. And I'll set the stage for you. Okay. Allie and I have, I think we had 15 rentals at the time. We had 15 STRs. So at this time, like, we had a good team. This was two Christmases ago. So not this Christmas, but last Christmas. Oh, cold, I guess you could say. And we had about 15 rentals, and it was snowing like crazy in Blue Ridge. and we have it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath cabin on top of a mountain, and we sent out rental and guest agreements, and we sent out check-in information a couple days before they arrive and all this. Well, the guest got to the property and canceled the reservation after they received the check-in information, got to the house and all that. Then they canceled the reservation, and we're like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, they didn't leave. Okay, they just thought like it was just a couple. They thought they could just come in and leave in the morning. So they were going to spend the night for free because they canceled and got full refund like immediately. So maybe they canceled. Yeah, they canceled same day. It was not after they checked in. It was like right before they checked in, and they canceled. They got the check-in information and all that stuff. So we didn't catch it until they like checked in. And they canceled the reservation. They got a refund, and they called Airbnb and all this stuff. And so they got a refund. And we went to go change the lock code. Right, that's part of your system. Like somebody cancels, we need to like at the time we used links, I believe, and we had to go in manually and like delete the code out of the lock. So we went in, deleted the code out of the lock, but they already had access to the house. Like they had already unlocked the door, got in, put their stuff inside. They're good. Or I say they're good. Like they thought they were good. Well, what happened is, like we're trying to message them. They're like, hey, we're not staying, we're leaving, whatever. We have a camera over like the entrance of the stairs, kind of come up, and the hot tub was on the front porch. So we could see the hot tub and the driveway together in the same angle. Like it's right there together, which we don't watch the camera to watch the hot tub or anything like that. But it's just the way it's positioned. You can see both. And you can see the hot tub from the street too. So it's not like an enclosed area. And so the guest gets in, and communicates with us for a little bit, and then stops communication. We're going to leave in the morning, or we're going to leave. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And so at this point, we're like calling Airbnb. We're like, we're going to have you removed from the property, whatever. Well, we're watching them in the camera. They decide to go get in the hot tub, and it's snowing outside. Like it's cold. They both get in the hot tub and left their phones inside. But when they did, they closed the door. And so we were able to go in the lock and lock the door. So all their stuff's inside, their phones and everything are inside, and we're just watching them. So we watched them for like 30 minutes in the hot tub, just watching them, like just to see, are they talking about like they got us, all this stuff. We locked the door, and so fast forward like say 30 minutes, the husband starts getting out to go inside, and he can't go inside. He's drying off, and he goes to get in, and he can't get in, and you hear them conversating. They got us. They locked us out. They changed the code. What are we going to do now? All this stuff. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have stayed. We should have left. Like we're hearing all this stuff from them, and we're just watching them. Like, well, the wife or whatever, girlfriend, wife, whatever, is in the hot tub and starts having a panic attack. She's like crying and screaming. What are we going to do? What are we like? Oh, I mean, just all this stuff. And he says, he's like walking back and forth. It's still locked. They won't let us in. I don't know what to do. And he says, I'm going to break in the door. I'm going to break the glass in the door. That's how we're going to get inside, and we'll leave. And they're going back and forth. And I was like, I don't know when to say something, Yeah. And I said, oh, just wait. And she says, no, we're not going to break the door. Bust the window. It's cheaper. And immediately I like turned on the microphone. I was like, no. You're not breaking a window. And they were like, are you watching us? What are you doing? And I was like, yeah, we're watching you. And we have dispatched the law. You know what you're doing. You can't do this. And they begged and they cried. Well, we let them get back in the house. And then they never left the house for the rest of the night. We're getting Airbnb to call them and all stuff. So we just started sending messages. Sheriff's department's on the way. All that stuff. They're like, no, we'll pay you for the night and we'll leave in the morning. So now we roll into like, okay, like we're going to let you stay, but you have to pay the invoice. And if you pay the invoice, I don't care. We're already going to try to charge you regardless. Well, they never paid. And so like the like late that night, we realized like they're not paying, they're not doing this, whatever. We send the sheriff up the mountain. And by this time, like 11, 12 o'clock, sheriff can't come up the mountain. Sheriff tries to come up, goes down it, like slides into a ditch because it's ice and snow. Can't get up the mountain. And so they ended up checking out. They actually moved their car to the street to look like they were leaving and then tried to walk around and walk up the front and then go back inside. And we could see them. Like, we have a camera right there. Stupid. And so anyways, they never left. They didn't leave until the next day. Couldn't get anything from them. Never got paid. Never got anything. We were out, $200 to clean the property. It was absolutely crazy. It was funny as crap through the whole thing. Absolutely hilarious. But we started looking back and we said, okay, this is a crazy story. This lady had a panic attack in the hot tub. They threatened to vandalize the house, break in the door and all stuff. What did we do right and what did we do wrong? So what did we do right? Well, we called the sheriff's department. We locked the door. That's about it. That's about the only thing we really did right. We didn't even do that correctly at the right time. So knowing what we know now, what would we have done better? I would have, as soon as they canceled, I would have had somebody go up the mountain and make sure that they're not checking in. Like, I would have called my maintenance guy, called a cleaner, called a runner. Hey, you need to make sure they are not checking in. Like, they said they're not coming, but then they canceled the reservation. We need to make sure that they don't show up. As soon as they showed up, we should have called the law. Like, no question, we should have called the sheriff, said, hey, somebody's at the property. They're not supposed to be there. They canceled the reservation. They're, trying to get in or whatever. Excuse me. And then when they were in the hot tub, we should have called the law again. Like, at different stages, we could have called the law at any point in that process for 8 hours. We should have called them. And we didn't. And we let it go too long. Let it get too late. Ended up icing like crazy snow. Nobody could get up the mountain. So we waited way too long to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. And then we're going to get paid for the night. And, we didn't. And so we should have just cut it off at the very beginning, not let stuff drag out. So it's kind of like part of making a decision, right? We talked about that. Like, get good at making decisions. We should have made the decision at the beginning to get the sheriff's department out there. We're not playing around. We're not playing this game. Vacate the property and move on. So, and have that set up with the team. Like, if the team is watching, like if this was a little over a year ago, just over a year ago. So I would say we were still pretty big in like the operations side a lot. But as soon as that happened, we were like in it, like we were watching whatever. What we should have done is like now, if that happens, we just say, hey, call the law. Like, I don't want to look at the cameras. You guys watch. The team will watch. The team will monitor. And then from there, the law's getting called and they're handling everything. Because that's what we do now is like the team will actually call the sheriff's department. We don't call them unless it's just crazy. So what we could have done better is start at the beginning, cut it off, call the sheriff's department. So if you have any kind of like protocol with that and it's a canceled reservation and they're still checking in, they still show up to the property, the first thing that the team should do is call the law, period, end of story. Because they're officially trespassing. And Airbnb will tell you that too. Airbnb will tell you, we don't have a reservation for them anymore. They are not our responsibility. It is between you and the guest. So they pretty much wipe their hands clean after they aren't like outside there. Even after checkout, if they're still there, they're technically like, they have nothing to do with us. So, but yeah, that's our best story. And when I tell it in person and we're sitting around the table, like we act out the whole situation. We talk about everything, but that's just like G-rated. That's G-rated for this call, this training. But just understand, like, don't let things carrot in front of the face. I'm going to pay you. I'll get it right. I'll get it fixed. Like, just cut it off. Like, this is a business. It's not a charity. Make the decision at the beginning and enforce the law and enforce your rules. So that's what I'm going to say. That's for that story. And we'll kind of move on from there. So, like, if you guys have any questions or comments or whatever, just throw them in the chat. We'll respond to them or bring them up as we go, and we'll just keep going. So, Sean, you have a carbon monoxide issue that happened this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. You know what? I'm curious. Why do you think that you waited so long? Were you feeling like it'll take care of itself, or what?
Too
Like
nice.
just being too nice?
Too nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny to watch them in the hot tub, but like, we should have called the law while they were in the hot tub. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been perfect timing to call the law. Like, call the sheriff's department. We just kind of got in the whole like, well, now we're out of the cleaning fee, so let's see if we can get it paid. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, we're being a little too nice. We're not treating this as a business. We're treating this as a fun side hustle, charity thing. Like, we should have not done that. Like, it's very black and white. It's very business, and just move on.
Makes sense. And
That's why I do.
Like, make the decision, and when we procrastinate, sometimes we pay the price later.
Yeah, and we did. We ate $200.
Definitely have done it. Yeah, the CO was crazy, man. That just happened. Actually, it was just this past weekend, literally. And they had called and they asked us for a discount. It was students at Harvard that were coming up to stay, and they were like, "Hey, we're poor students at Harvard, and we need a little bit of a discount. This is a little out of our price range, so we cut it down like, I don't know, $150 or something." Say one thing about this too, like, I'm so blessed that my son Nick is my partner with this. Like, he was, going back and forth with them too on giving them a discount. So they come up, have a great night. First night's everything's great. You know what I mean? Second night they're out, and a tree freaking goes down. It's a crazy storm in the area. A tree goes down and takes out the power. Well, because the power went out, the generator came on. So they're out, they're coming back, and I'll tell you another thing. Like, it's wild how things all kind of seem to work together sometimes too. Like, they're trying to get in the door, and they're putting in the wrong code and not being able to get in. And then they're messaging back, and they're like, the alarm's going off inside. We can't open the door. It's locked on us. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you got to do the code right. You know what I mean? And then you can get in. And they're getting all frustrated. Harvard doctors. You know what I mean? They got in, and come to find out it's the CO alarm, not the smoke alarm. We're like, what the freaking heck is going on? They're going back and forth. Nick literally is on the phone with the fire department, and the fire department came there. Obviously, like I said, a tree went down and knocked out a bunch of houses, so they went in there and checked, and it was CO, and it was coming in, and it was coming in through the generator. So literally, these guys are like, "Wow, we could have died." You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. We want our money back, and they're literally like, "We want our money back, and we want it back with, everything." Nick's like, "Look, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to refund you guys. I will refund you guys. You know what I mean? For both nights. I'm sorry about that." They're like, "No, we also want the cleaning fee. We want the freaking all this stuff." And it's like, no way, man. We're going to give you back that, because it was 7 people, and they had to go get 2 rooms, 2 hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not our fault. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make sure that all this stuff is taken care of. But the messages back and forth, the phone call, you know what I mean? All this stuff. And there's some things you just can't do anything about it except for what's happening right now. You know what I mean? Like, okay, the fire department shut the generator out. You know what I mean? The power's off now. When the power comes back on, great. We'll get the heat going, all that kind of stuff. Refund these guys back. Go back and talk to Airbnb. Airbnb is like, you did everything you guys could. No worries. All of a sudden, we get a cancellation that these guys canceled for the weekend, and they should have been checking out. We're like, does that mean they can't leave us a bad review if they cancel? It doesn't mean that.
In that situation, I've been on both sides of that, actually. Airbnb will say if they stayed at all, they can still leave a review. So if they cancel in their stay, I don't. I think they can, but I'm not 100% sure. That's a good question, actually. If they cancel during their stay, can they still leave a review? What I've heard from Airbnb, if they wanted to, they could, because they canceled, because they stayed. Like if they stayed and then they left, I think they could still leave a review.
Even if we refunded them and then
Yeah.
they canceled.
Yeah, the refund doesn't matter. You can refund 200% of the fee if you
and
want
then
to.
they can still be like, hey, this was a terrible experience or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. If they stayed at all, they should be able to still leave a review. So, okay, so let's talk about this. Jill said they can still leave a review. She's been there, done that.
According to Airbnb, after they talked to Nick, because they did talk to him, they said, you've done everything that you can. So, if they end up leaving this, we'll be able to remove it for you.
Yeah, yeah. So you could fight the review if
that was
because it's out of your control. Like you're trying to get it fixed. It's not a big of a deal. I mean, it is a big deal, right? The CO alarm was going off. That's a big deal. But if they stay at all, period, they can leave a review.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's been like kind of weirdly explained to us by Airbnb because we've had situations where like it just didn't make sense. Like what, like let's say they just showed up, they never even walked in the house, and then they canceled or something happened, and then they left. Like they should not be able to leave a review, but they still can because I think it's like once it enters into that check-in, like that check-in time, they can. So, okay. So what did you do right? Let's talk about that. What did you do right in the situation for the CO? Like time out. I do want to point out after this happened, because I know you called me and you were like, hey, like, what do you think about this and the other? The CO alarm going off is not something to play lightly with. We both know that because it could kill people in the sleep. Like it's a silent killer, right? Silent but deadly. Actually, if everybody saw the email, that's a pretty good email. Silent but deadly. So when that happened and the CO alarm was going off because of the generator was going on, you called the fire department and the fire department was dispatched, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they came in and they tested for CO, right? Yes.
They
not mentioned, yes.
Yep. That's exactly right. They're like, you guys need to get out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is all.
But what did the fire department tell you? He doesn't know.
They said that first. Okay, so a couple things. One, they said that this is the second time this has happened in a year at this place.
Yep.
So basically, the generator is supposed to be moved because it's just blowing right up into the house.
Yeah, but we didn't know that until we looked it up.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Exactly right. When we were looking at all that stuff up, the fire department literally talked to him for like 30 seconds, and they were like, "Look, this is the second time we've come out here. We shut it off. You know what I mean? The people need to get out and find a new place." And that was it. Nick's like,
okay,
I'll take care of that. You know what I mean? No problem. And that was it.
Yeah. And so upon that conversation, we Googled, because I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me why a generator would be emitting CO into a house. Like that doesn't make any sense. But upon looking at it, if the exhaust is not more than, I think, 5 feet away from the house, the exhaust will go back into the house. Like it'll go back into the window, through the doors, into the soffit, like all of that. It will flow right back up into the house. So it has to be so far away. And so whoever installed her generator installed it way too close to the house, which is crazy. But that was a really good experience and learning lesson even for me. And it's not even my property because I had no idea, because we deal with generators too. So I had no idea that was something that could happen or emit or whatever. So all of that was brand new to me as well, but we just did some simple Google searches and we found the different causes and stuff. And she did say, Sean called the owner and the owner said, well, they want to move it away because they said it's too close. So that lines up perfectly with what we looked up. So let's talk about what you did right, Sean.
Right away, going, you know what I mean, getting them on taking it very serious. We need to get the, you know what I mean, fire department, let's make sure this is all set, taken care of right away. You know what I mean? Refunding them back. I think that was 100% the right thing to do immediately, both nights. And ultimately just be there to hear kind of what they were going through. And they were pretty scared. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, we get it. You know what I mean? Here's the refund. Sorry about that. And kind of, setting them on their way to a hotel so that they could, be safe, man.
Okay.
Ultimately.
What do you think? Because I want to talk about like how you interacted with the owner too. But what do you think you could do better?
So the one thing I think, first of all, there was some red flags with the owner to begin with. Like this was a very difficult situation with the owner. The owner was just like, "Oh, we'll just shut the generator off." It's like, okay, just so we're talking about right now. Right now, it's -1. If they didn't have a generator when the power went off, you know what I mean? Like, what do we do? Of course, we need to have a generator. You know, our company's name is 5-Star Steaks. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to refund them. You're going to lose the money. Like, we have to have a generator. So that's all been kind of just fun dealing with her. She's been very tough to deal with, honestly, from the beginning. And it's this was just another red flag because she was just saying, well, we'll just deal with it. You know, we'll shut the generator off and people will they'll just have to wait till the power comes back on. That's what she said. I was like, no, they're not going to just wait. We're going to have to refund them so they can go stay somewhere else. We don't know how long it's going to be on for, you know? So she's fun. But ultimately, I think that what we did right was ultimately
Just cut it off. They can sleep outside. Just open the door. It'll cool off.
right. Like she was that's literally what she said. They can just wait till it comes back on. It's like, no,
I love it.
Time.
Did they not bring sleeping bags? Just tell them to cut just plug in a heater. When the power goes off and it gets real cold, just plug in a heater and it'll like.
Exactly. You know what? Just start a fire in the living room. Just start burning the tables.
So what have you done with what have you done with the owner since?
She's kind of on notice that, we're not going to put this back up for rent at all until the generator is fixed. And as of right now, moving a generator on the outside of a house is not an easy thing. So as of right now, it's pretty much closed for the season.
Okay.
Until we can get somebody out there.
Now, what about identifying red flags with this owner?
Well, the first one was that she wouldn't even pay us the onboarding fee that we had asked for, which was $1,000. So then I cut her a deal because we've been working for her 7 months for her to say yes. And she's like, okay, I'll do it. And then we said $1,000. She's like, well, I don't want to do that. So that was kind of the first red flag. If she's not even going to put that up, she's nickel and dime and everything. It's an older place that needs quite a bit of work. The furniture is very old. She didn't want to replace anything. It was like, I think we can work with it though. It's a nice place. Just wanting to build a portfolio instead of making sure that each one that you're putting together is the right one with the right people, the right owner. Those are things that we like to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like as you grow, and I tell everybody that's like in PowerPath or coming in or trying to start the STR company, like if your goal is like, let's say is to leave the W-2 and you're like, I've got to leave as fast as possible. Everybody's goals are different, but let's say that's because that's the most common. Everybody wants to leave their W-2 job. Well, I'm going to tell you, like, I am super savage when it comes to that. If you come to me and you say, my goal is to leave the W-2 in 12 months, I hate my job, I want to be home, yada, yada. I'm going to tell you to put up with that kind of stuff at first. Take them on. It'll produce cash flow. You will learn what to do and what not to do, who to deal with, who not to deal with. I've done it. I've taken on some crappy owners, like crappy, especially in just growing. Because we need the cash flow, right? Like your back's against the wall. You need to leave your W-2. You need to take on the cash flow. So I don't play around with this whole, like, you need to have the perfect property at the very beginning. Now, if you're at a handful or I've worked with people who, I've had students that made $200,000 or $300,000 a year at their W-2 and they liked it. They just wanted their time back. So we did not get savage about who they were picking up. So I just want to make that clear. Like anybody that's listening to this, depending on your situation, it is not a blanket of like, here's the method for everybody. Here's how you need to do it for everybody's a little different and everybody's goals are a little different. Now in that realm of the $200,000 to $300,000 a year, like we were very, very picky on the ones he brought on, and he ended up bringing on 3 across the street from each other with a crazy design. I think he made $10K per design, like $10,000 on the design. Working with the design, like I don't fully remember the design numbers there, But and he's in Seattle, and what he launched was epic. And he launched the first one, and then the neighbor was like, I want one just like that. And then the neighbor across the street was like, I want one just like that. So it did take him a while to grow, but he loved his sales job. He just wanted some more time back. And he's doing, I think each one of those probably produces him $3,000 a month on management fee. So he got 3 to do 10K or 9K versus 10 to do 10K. But when you're growing, it just depends on your goals. Like, I'm going to tell you to put up with that kind of stuff at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what red flags now to find later. Like, hey, been down this road before, not going to do it, don't want anything to do with this guy, and move on. So I've got my fair share of owners that I took on just blindly. So, and it still happens. Like, they kind of come through the cracks every once in a while, and you're like, whoa, like, you didn't show these colors when we had, 3 or 4 phone calls before and we met in person and all that stuff. So, okay. So she's on notice. So back to you. She's on notice. And did you give her an ultimatum, like, we're going to cancel, like, we're going to go our separate ways, or like anything like that?
As of right now, we didn't make it quite that cut and dry. We just told her that we are not going to open it back up until that is fixed.
Okay.
And kind of keep it in the back burner that this is more of a summer place anyways for where it's located. It's right on the lake. It's a nice place. She did a little bit more work, I think it would be great, but the attitude behind it and everything, we're pretty much, I'd say we're 95% like, hey, we're going to be cutting this off here. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
The way that she handled it didn't make us feel good. We're literally talking about it. It's like, what if there was no battery in that? Like,
yes.
What if the battery died in the CO, like in the alarm? We would have a bigger problem. I sent her an email that said that.
Yeah.
It was like, this is not okay. You know what I mean? So we're closing it as of right now.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we're doing. I mean, I'll take a terrible review over, hurting people. I mean, my God, it was just crazy,
Yeah.
But we went through it.
Nick commented and said, that is definitely the avatar we want to take on again.
Yeah.
So, I'm just kidding. He said that's definitely not our avatar. So
no way.
Love you, Nick. Love you, Nick.
It definitely has been a huge learning lesson. Talking to her, she just she's coarse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's an older lady. She inherited this place, and she's just not taking care of it the way it needs to be.
Okay. So I'll go on to my second story.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So we have we'll talk about, I'll just call it the glow stick party. Okay. I kind of mentioned that at the beginning, but glow stick party. So we have let's actually back up. I'll just say something briefly that I think is important. Any property that you have, you need to make sure, and this is kind of separate, but I'm just going to bring this up because this is kind of top of mind for me. Any property that you have, you need to make sure that you either have Terminix or some kind of pest control. Things happen, right? And so we've had, they're called German roaches come in, and German roaches are carried in plastic, they lay eggs in plastic, Walmart bags, grocery bags, little bitty plastic grocery bags. So some states, y'all probably don't even use plastic. You probably just use paper. But down here, down in the South, baby, we still use raw plastic. You know what I'm saying? We're just, we're just chumming it up over here at this plastic stuff. But what'll happen, especially if you got a property that's turning a lot, what'll happen is they'll go to Walmart, they'll bring the bags in, they'll set them on the table or set them on the counter. They'll do all the groceries, putting out the groceries or whatever. And sometimes they'll just kind of leave them. Right? They'll just leave them out. Because I've never had this problem in my house. But in an STR, I've had it multiple times. And what will happen is the leaving it out on the table or whatever, or on the counter or what have you, or in the cabinets, if you store them in the cabinets, they will, they'll develop and they'll turn into roaches. And they're little bitty roaches. And they're called German roaches. So we had a guest come in and say, it was actually the guest that brought them in. Within a couple of days, they pretty much hatched. They were there for a week, and they were we have roaches everywhere, all this stuff. And honestly, within a week, I think they hatched or something like that. And so, anyways, there's roaches, there's all this. So what do? Do you just send them out? Do you let them refund? Where? Call your pest control. Call Terminix or Arrow or whoever to get out there same day. For your German roaches, if you let it go too long and say nobody catches it, I had a cabin where the German roaches, they hatched and they grew and they mated, and it was disgusting. And they lived behind the stove, and nobody ever caught them. Nobody knew it. And there was thousands. Yeah, thousands. And there would be like one roach come out, and the guests say it's something, and we'd have the cleaner like maybe spray or whatever. But call the Terminix, like call your pest control. They had it took 3 treatments to get this remedied, but they got it remedied. Like they killed a bunch, they come out, but you just have to put in some messages. Hey, Terminix came. You can kind of like, I don't want to say fib because you don't want to be like, hey, I got a bunch of roaches and like Terminix is taking care of it, or Arrow or whatever. Just put in some messaging. Hey, we just had our monthly pest service yesterday. I'm not saying completely lie, but hey, we had our monthly pest service come in yesterday. Just to let you know, if you do see any activity, it's usually because it's right after they sprayed. And that'll kind of like help if you know that it's coming. That'll kind of help them prep. So, oh, by the way, you had like, a bug over here or whatever. So that's a really good way to just kind of like combat that. As far as, I don't want to say like SOPs or whatever, just kind of like prep the guest for that. But if they do report something and you don't know anything about it, you need to make sure you have Terminix on file, Arrow on file, whatever the homeowner, whatever their pest control company is. We handle pretty much all of the inspections and the appointments. They call our company and they say, can I get in there? Can I not? But if you have them on call, you have their phone number, you have their contact, and when something like bed bugs, roaches, mice, ants, anything like that happens, call the pest control company as soon as possible, like immediately. I don't even care if the owner approves it or not. Like, don't care.
Right.
You got roaches, you got ants, pest control needs to come out. And then you can figure the other part out later, because your first obligation is to the guest to make sure that they have a good hospitable stay, 5-star experience, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And then we let the homeowner know, because we're not calling for approval at the homeowner. We're not calling them and say, hey, by the way, we have roaches. Can I call the pest control? No. Call the pest control company first. Then you call the homeowner and say, hey, I remedied this situation. This is what happened. There is no option. This is not a choice. This is what happened. So I want to put that out there because I do get questions about that a lot with like bed bugs, especially. If it's bed bugs and you have identified it, they don't want to stay, refund them, the rest of the stay or whatever, and move on. Like, get the company in there, block out your days, and get them to come in and spray or, whatever it is. And that's why you have mattress covers too, by the way, for bed bugs. So mattress and pillow covers. Make sure you're protecting the stuff. It's easy to get away, it's easy to like forget about some of the covers, or they get washed and they never get put back on, but you have to make sure they get put back on. So glow stick party. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Glow stick party. All right. So we had, I think like 14 women come, maybe 10 or 14 women come to one of our big cabins. And we didn't really know anything about the trip or anything like that. The host was kind of asking some weird questions. Just kind of threw the team off. And they're like, well, I don't know why she's asking this or why she's asking that. And it was just a lot of questions. Anything from like weather to stores to like how close things were, which is, some of this is fine, but it's just back to back to back to back to back. And then like, how early can we set up for? And we're like, what are you talking about? Set up for? There's not, it shouldn't be an event or a party or anything like that. How long does takedown take? Just crazy stuff. And so anyways, we had them show up. This lady showed up first, which was weird. 14 people and then one person shows up at the beginning. That's a little strange. She comes in, she does her thing, whatever. And they come in, then everybody else gets there. And then it was like, after the first morning, we get a lot text, like we get a lot of like messages like there's no hot water, which of course there's not going to be if everybody took a shower. 14 women. Love you, women, but there's no way. I'm not even men, too. 14 guys take a shower. There's just no way that you're going to have hot water after. But then there's no hot water. She reported things that, like, she reported, like, stupid stuff. Like, hey, cabinet doors are like, loose. You know, like, there's a handle on the cabinet door loose. Then she started saying, like, we went in the woods and we found this and we found this. Just started, like, just reporting all this stuff. It was almost like we knew she was going for a refund. And so we said, okay, like whatever, like we can get this fixed or we can attend to this. We can, you know, so we just dispatched the maintenance guy or whatever. Maintenance guy goes out there and he's like, they're just weird. All of them are just weird. There's 14 women here. It's just a strange vibe when I walked in. So like now we're on high alert. Like everybody's on high alert. I'm on high alert. Allie, the maintenance guy, like the team, everybody's Airbnb's on high alert. Like we're just like, we're not sure what's going on. Well, we are watching the camera because they made a complaint like later that night. I don't remember what the complaint was, but we were just like, okay, that's super weird. So we started watching the camera. And in the camera, you could see like it's a driveway, and then there's like a 3-car garage, game room, and then the house. So you have to just like pass the driveway, and you can go in the 3-car garage on the side door. And we were watching them. And it was kind of fuzzy because it was dark and you're kind of looking at a distance. But we realized all of them were naked. Every woman there was naked. Every single one of them. And then here comes another woman walking from the car up. And she's covered in glow sticks. Like all over her body. Everything. We're like, what? And then we realized there's 2 girls standing outside the side door covered in glow sticks. Well, then we realized that they started smoking something, and we realized they were smoking meth. So the way, and I don't get too technical here, you burn it differently than you burn like if you're smoking a cigarette or marijuana or whatever. So if you're listening to this with kids, like you probably don't need to like just kind of like put me on mute. You light it differently. Okay, you have paraphernalia, you have some other stuff. And so when we zoomed in to see what they were smoking, that's what we found that they were smoking.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, this is not good. But what we did is we just saved it just in case they asked for a refund.
Yeah.
We just saved it. Like, we're like, okay, if this comes back as a refund, we're going to push this. We're going to push these pictures in this video and all stuff. And we're going to tell them what we found, whatever. So they check out. House isn't crazy, like destroyed or anything like that. But they checked out. I guess they were there for like 3 days or something. End up checking out. Cleaner comes up, sees a baggie in the driveway of Crystal or whatever their stuff is, right? She takes a picture. She sends it to us. This isn't mine. This is this, whatever. We could see it in the picture, in the camera, like where she pulled up, she got out, she took a picture, sent it to us. So we just saved it. We didn't do anything with it. Well, after they got home, they started pushing for a refund. We didn't have any hot water. This is what happened. We found this in the woods. And I think it was like a bag of trash or something was like deep in the woods. I don't even remember. Just stupid stuff. All this stuff for refund. And then she sent a refund request, which we immediately denied it. And then we sent Airbnb like all the paraphernalia and the drug related stuff. And I actually think we lost that review, by the way. So we lost that refund. Like they got the refund. Airbnb ruled in their favor. Yeah, they fought the drugs. They fought all that stuff. Airbnb won they won the refund through Airbnb. Now, that's the party. That's what happened. What did we do right? Not much, other than dispatching the maintenance guy quickly. Like, we didn't really do much right. We just kind of sat on our hands. And this actually wasn't too long ago. We just sat on our hands. And we just said, okay, like, if this happens, this is what we'll do, whatever. So maintenance guy went out. We should have notified Airbnb right then, like, hey, something's very suspicious about this. Oh, and by the way, the lady that hosted the 14 girls sold tickets, a paid event for everybody to come stay with her. Sold tickets and sold it as a luxury retreat cabin. And this cabin is not a luxury retreat. It's a really nice cabin. It's not a luxury retreat cabin. But she sold them, and she told us this on the phone. But we didn't have any written information about this. And as soon as we found that out, we should have sent a message back to say, hey, we just want to confirm we were just on the phone with you. This is not like you said you sold a luxury retreat cabin, whatever. I'm sorry, this is not what this is. Like, that's not our fault or whatever. So what do we do right? We sent the maintenance guy out. That's pretty much it. What could we have done better? What could we do at the very beginning? As soon as we got information, we should have sent it to Airbnb. As soon as we got information. As soon as we got off the phone about selling a retreat, we should have called Airbnb. We should have got the message in writing, called Airbnb and told them. We should have, as soon as the drug stuff came back, we should have sent it straight to Airbnb. We want you to cancel this reservation. No penalty to us. This is, against everything. When we waited on them to send a refund in or complain or whatever, they just looked at like we were falsifying stuff just to make it look like, they were just like, that's not mine. That doesn't make any sense. All that stuff. That's not us, all sorts of stuff. So we should have sent it immediately to Airbnb and called them and said, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the situation, yada, yada, yada. So again, what did we do wrong? We sat on our hands. And that's what most people do. Most people just say, just wait, just see, just if this happens, then do this, be reactive, don't be proactive. You have to be proactive in this kind of stuff, especially when you're talking about 14 people in one of your places, yours or not. If you own it or your owners or whatever, you have a neighborhood you're in, you have to be proactive and get that stuff shut down super early on. Because honestly, somebody could have died. You're talking about CO stuff, like drugs, it's not good. So it's highly illegal. So we could have called the sheriff out. That could have been a method that we did. But we should have called Airbnb as soon as possible and told them exactly what was going on to say cancel this reservation, get them out. I don't care if it's 2:00 in the morning, they need to be gone. So that's what we could have done differently. And that's what we would do differently. But it's something where, a situation like that comes in and you're not ready for it. You're just kind of on standby. You're just well, I'll wait. I don't know about this. I don't know about that. You got to be proactive. You have to be. So you have to be the team's high alert. Just have them. If you don't have a team and it's just you, don't wait. Don't be worried about a bad review. Don't worry about, not getting the refund. If you are proactive, you will win 99% of the time, as long as it's justified. So, okay.
Almost would have been would you call the cops?
Yeah, I would have called Airbnb to see how they would handle it.
Yeah.
And then called and dispatched the sheriff. Hey, I think they're doing X, Y, and Z. I just actually alerted Airbnb. We're trying to cancel the reservation, but I think they could be causing harm to themselves, and I think they have illegal substances on the property. Can you please, is there a way you can help me out? And most of the time, they're going to help you out.
Yeah. No, that's great, especially with meth or something like that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Wow.
So, okay.
It happens.
Yeah. I got stories for days, but these are stories that we, things went wrong, or we should have been a little bit better. We should have our systems more in place, or just, a lot of this kind of comes back down to acting quickly.
Yeah.
Do you wait or do you act quickly? And we've acted quickly on a lot of stuff, but a lot of things we've just waited and waited and waited, and it ends badly. We lose the refund, or we lose this, or we get a bad review, or whatever, that we end up having to try to fight. And so if you just act quickly, know what to do and act quickly. If the team is supposed to call the sheriff's department, call the sheriff's department. If they're supposed to call Airbnb, call Airbnb. You have to know, what's the next step? If this happens, then call Airbnb. If this happens, save the pictures, put them in the drive, whatever, and then move on to the next step. So, and it's not necessarily you can't come up with some of the stuff. So it may not be something that you can write up an SOP of if this happens, then you need to do X, Y, and Z. It's kind of a rolling matter. Hey, they got a glow party. Okay, whatever. Or glow stick party. Okay, whatever. The second you realize they're doing drugs, it's got to start. What do we do? Call Airbnb, see what they do, and then see how they react, and then call the sheriff's department. So, all right. You have a stove and fireplace situation. And a lot of people will deal with this. Need new equipment, new appliances, things not working in the property, and you have to handle it. So walk us through. This is the same property between the stove and the fireplace, right?
The stove and the fireplace is, yeah. That's
Okay.
different than the the CO problem.
Right.
So New Year's Day, we actually get a call that the oven isn't working, but the top of the stove is. So they're able to still do that, but they wanted to cook. It's New Year's Day. They were there for 4 more days or something. It was these are those also times that we had talked about before, like Christmas, New Year's. This is where people make the most complaints. You know what I mean? Like they're looking for discounts because it's the most expensive time of the year to get an Airbnb. So we're every single property was literally texting us back and forth for some kind of an issue or another. Then this happens and the oven's not working. And then the fireplace isn't working. And it's like, oh my God, it's freaking New Year's Day. These guys are here for 3 more days. Like, we need to get somebody out there. So I'm calling everybody. I ended up, I had checked on the Facebook local group right there. And I was like, hey, who could come do this? And somebody had mentioned a guy. I had that guy. I called him. He was like, yep, I'll come out there today and do it. I'll be out there in the next hour or two. I'm like, yes, nice. You know what I mean? So he goes out, takes a look at it. You need a new stove. Like, yeah, that's not what I was thinking you were going to say. You know what I mean? Like, what? That sucks. The good news is we actually had nobody staying at the property next door too, which has a stove. This is a pretty cool place that we have. There's 2 houses. So we're like, if you need to, you can use the oven next door. They're like, don't worry about it. We're like, we'll pay for your dinner for sure tonight. You know what I mean? Whatever you want, if you guys were doing that. And we were prepared to do that. They said, no, you don't have to worry about it. Literally the way that we handled all this, by the way, we got a 5-star review after this, which was crazy. You know what I mean?
Love it.
When you're proactive, when you are handling things, it definitely is, people appreciate it. They get it that stuff like that happens. So we had to turn the stove off. He had to turn the fireplace off, so they couldn't have a fireplace either, which was a bummer. That's not how you heat it. It's, a propane fireplace. Looks nice. But the same guy said, okay, you need a new stove, order the stove. I'll come and fix it for you, put it back in. And, it looks like you might need a new fireplace. It's like, a new fireplace? I think it's like $4,000. Are you kidding me? And it looks brand new. It's beautiful. You know what I mean? But the interior, he's like, oh, you've got all these problems, blah, 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 blah. So I'm making all these other calls and trying to get other people to get out there. I'll say one thing about what we did right. Don't let one guy determine what you're going to do. Like, get more people involved. The other thing is that when you're doing this, you're building your Rolodex of people in the area that you can go to. You know what I mean? So I ended up actually reaching out and talking to our propane company that, delivers the gas and all that stuff for us. And they were like, I can't get out there till next week. It's like 7 days away, and it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Well, good news. They actually did come out. They checked it out. The guy, I'm sorry, this has now been 2 weeks. The guy that actually originally said the stove, you need a new stove. We bought a stove. He put it together. He charged us $900 to install the stove and diagnose that the fireplace doesn't work and needs a new fireplace. We get the propane company to come out there. I talked to him today. I'm literally dealing with this today at the doctor's office. I'm going back and forth with the guy. And he says, I got them both set because there's 2 fireplaces that weren't working, one at 96, one at 94. And he's like, I'm at 96 right now, and I've got it working. It just needed a couple logs. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like it's okay. I think we should probably, we should schedule a maintenance to be able to come out here. And, in the springtime, I'll get it all. I'll go right through it, and it'll be perfect. I'm like, well, is it good right now for the season? He's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So what are you going to charge me for this? I'm just curious. Oh, $155 for each unit. You know what I mean? You're fine. You know what I mean? This guy wanted me to pay $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
A cleaner there that weekend, and he's like, I don't see what's going on with the stove, man. You should be able to just fix the interior. I think the freaking guy wants the stove. Like, he's like, we'll replace this. Don't worry, I'll take care of the stove for you. Like, no way, are you serious? And after all this, I'm wondering if that's what he was thinking. I called the guy back up. This is all today now. I called the guy back up, and I'm just like, hey, we got it all fixed, by the way. Thanks, bro. That's not his name, but that's what I said. And he's like, what? oh, well, if their name's on it, I guess it's fine. You know what I mean? If they're just going to let it be like that, I'm like, well, they said it was good, and it's the propane company, so I guess I'm going to go with that. Well,
Yeah.
as long as they're going to put their name and it's not me, I'm like, yeah, you're not to get my stove either. Have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah. What's crazy is like, okay, so as I'll just interject here because I love talking sometimes too much. What did you do? What did you do wrong? What could you have done better?
I mean, if the guests were okay, you know what I mean, and they were, and we didn't need to get somebody out there New Year's Day. So we probably got charged an extra $300 or $400 because he charged us for New Year's Day.
Mm-hmm.
He was happy to get out there. You know what I mean? Where it wasn't a true emergency because they were okay. But we were trying to go, over and above and make sure that they were all set, show somebody being there, and that, I think that was, I don't think that we needed to do it that way, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
If they were okay with it, just say to them, if you're okay with it, I don't want to interrupt your stay. You know what I mean? If you want me to send somebody out there, I will. If you feel like you're comfortable with it, though, let's just leave it the way it is. I'm happy to, pay for your dinners, whatever, something. You know what I mean? And they didn't even ask for us to give them a refund at all. We ended up sending them $300. I mean, it was like a $1,000 stay that they were doing. You know what I mean? And it was like, we gotta freaking do something.
Yeah.
We ended up doing that, and they left us a 5-star review for it.
So what do you think you could have done better? Wait, what do you think you did right? Yeah, sorry. That was a different way to ask the first question. What do you think you did right?
More people involved. Like I did get very proactive and had somebody go out there. I mean, this took a couple of hours, all on New Year's Day to get everything set. And, you're all available. There's phone calls, there's text messages, you know what I mean? You're kind of going back and forth. And when he got out there, we did everything that we could possibly do. Mm-hmm. But I honestly think that we could have said to the guests, like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? Do you want me to send somebody out there? We just were like, we're sending somebody out there right now. We didn't ask them those questions. We just did everything proactive to get it done. You know what I mean? And it is kind of it does kind of interrupt your stay if somebody comes there and they're looking at the stove and you're trying to watch TV or what, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
be intrusive. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, and they were all very good about it. Somebody else could have lost their mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just saying, are you okay? I think is something that we could have done better. And then the one good thing that came out of it for sure is, I'm a little bit closer and tighter now with the propane company. They know who I am. You know what I mean? I met a couple of other people, as a matter of fact, that led me to another person that now we have a better cleaner. A couple of other things have happened, you know what I mean? From being proactive and finding all this stuff out. It's kind of hard to say. Maybe, all of it was done for a reason as far as this is concerned. And, I think we came out stronger in the end for it.
Yeah, I would agree. So I personally think what you did absolutely great on that is that you got a second opinion. That's what I think. So, like, there's the guest side, and then there's the management side, like management of the property, management of the things, ACs, stoves, whatever. And then we have to correlate that with the homeowner. So you have like a homeowner and property management, and then you have like a guest management. And so for me, I always tell, like, what we tell the owners is I'll never call you with a problem unless I have a solution, ever. Like, I'm not going to call you and be like, hey, AC went out. And then they have to say, well, what are you going to do? And then I say, well, I'm going to make some phone calls. Like, I'm not going to do that. AC is messed up. Okay. My obligation is more so for the guest. Let's figure out how to get this rectified. Hey, this is what's going on. So we have some kind of game plan. We have some kind of like something to say, hey, we're good. Like, we have a plan of action. So when it comes to like the fireplace or the stove or the appliance or whatever that is messed up, we'll call the maintenance guy. So like, we'll call my maintenance guy first, even if it's like, unless it's hot tub related. My maintenance guy is not like certified really, like he doesn't really fully understand the operations of a hot tub.
Right.
Thinking about sending him to a certification class for like a few $100 so he can do them, so we can bring that in-house. So that is an idea that we're going through. But if you look at the kind of like your execution, right? So like they reported something, hey, the stove's messed up. And you're like, cool. We do have to have some kind of buffer. So that's something that we had to teach the team. Like, not everybody has to go out right now.
Right.
We have one maintenance guy, 60 doors, between the hotel and SCRs. We have one maintenance guy. He can't be in two places at once. It's just not realistic. And I'm not paying another maintenance guy $175 to come out. Like, it's just not, like, that's not realistic.
Right.
So we will get them as fast as possible. But you're right. Like, having that buffer of like, are you okay? And you have to just self-reflect. Like, is this something that would bother me or not? If it's a stove messed up and I'm about to cook Thanksgiving dinner, we got a problem.
Exactly.
If it's a stove messed up and I'm there for New Year's and I'm about to go shoot fireworks and we're going out to eat, not really that big of a deal. Like, they found out it was messed up somehow, but there's a couple of people, pay for their dinner. That's cool. Now, having that buffer and then saying, okay, I'm dispatching the maintenance guy. We pay our maintenance guy salary or weekly. He has a weekly pay. So if he has to go to 7 places versus 2 places, doesn't it cost me anything extra? So we want him to go, like, if he can, like, everywhere. So we send him out first. If he can't fix it, which he's very, very handy, then we'll say, okay, appliance tech. But we get some kind of, like, idea from him. Do you think it's a switch? Do you think, like, is it the door switch? Is it the light bulb? Is it a burner? Like, what is it? If we realize, like, hey, I think it's a control panel, we might as well just go look for a new stove. So now, if somebody's telling me, like, hey, the whole fireplace is messed up, like when you called me and you were like, what about this? Excellent. Like, what do you think? I was like, send me a picture of it. Cause I'm very familiar with fireplaces, like, gas fireplaces. And I was like, dude, there's no, like, this is retarded. This is stupid. Like, he doesn't need to be replacing the whole thing. That doesn't make any sense. And I've dealt with owners to buy used logs and all this stuff. So getting a second opinion and going away from, like, at a $2,000 fee, that's when I'm like, okay, I need a second opinion. If it was $100, I'm like, yes, do it.
Right. 100%.
$2,000? Yeah. Like, let's call a company that does this every day, a propane company that does this every single day, and get their opinion. I love the fact that you did that, because that saved your owner $1,800. You identified that the maintenance guy is there to get your money, not to help you. So, like, I'd probably quit him quickly.
We're not pals anymore. Yeah, there's reason to call him again.
Y'all are gonna, like, drink some beer after you get done. So I would say, like, it is important to understand that we are there for the owners, but we're also there for the guests. So if it's getting things quoted out, or if it's getting something, I don't want to say getting something used. Like, I've been down the path of, I can find this used for you and I'll go get it off Facebook and I'll have it installed. I have been down that path twice. One was with a stove and one was with gas logs. And the stove never got replaced because we couldn't find one within an hour. And the owner didn't want to spend another $100 on a new stove. And the owner was sending me stoves with it like 3 hours away. He lives in Florida. Actually, no, I think they moved to another state. But I think he was in Florida at the time, and he's sending me this stuff within 3 hours of me. And I'm like, dude, there's no way. I'm personally not going to drive out there anyways. I got to pay my maintenance guy to drive out there. And I'm not sending him 3 hours away, because by the time you pay his time and his gas, you might as well just have a new stove. So you kind of look at the who, not how in that situation, but you are there to help the owner out. And so we just actually never replaced it. It was a door switch problem. So we got the door switch fixed, is what it came out to be. The second one is gas logs. So, like, we were like, oh yeah, like, I'll go get you some gas logs. And so I did. I found them for like $100 on Facebook. I went and picked him up, and we never swapped. He never, like, after I picked him up, he changed his mind. He's like, I don't want to swap them. We'll just turn it off. So I'm like, okay, I'm out $100. I have these freaking gas logs. Like, what am I supposed to do now? My time and money. So don't do that. Like, don't go down that road of, like, yes, we want to help everybody. Yes, we want to help our owners. But when it starts being so intrusive in your own life and hitting your bottom line and your pocket and all that, like, you can be nice all day, but at some point, something's got to give. Like, you're there to solve problems. And so what we started doing is we just said, here's a new one. This is the price of a new stove. They can deliver it. They can pull out the old stove. This is what it's going to cost. You pay it. Like, the owner can pay them directly. And we'll just manage the installation. Like, oversee, the installation,
Yeah.
the guest and make sure it's cleaned after and all that stuff. But we're not doing that task because that task is going to cost a lot of money and it's going to cost you more than what it would be just to buy a new stove, a lot of time, a lot of headache. Like, just buy the new stove and just have it done. Or the gas logs. I just pushed that back on an owner. I had another owner call me and say, hey, they want $2,000 for a new set of logs. And I was like, why? She's like, I don't know, it's got all these bells and whistles and all that stuff. And I said, look, here's what we did. Measure the inside of the insert. Go on Facebook. Make sure it's a propane set of logs and buy them. And she paid $200 for a brand new set of logs on Facebook. She went and picked them up and had the gas company install them. So all she did was deliver them to the house and had the gas company install them. It was like $400 out the door. Like, altogether between the logs and the installation was like $400. And she called me and she said, you're a lifesaver. You saved me $1,600. Like, thank you. So you're still doing your part on like trying to advise them where to go and what to do. So, and I could go back and forth on stories all day. Like, I could do this. Now, I don't want like to scare people that are looking to get into coasting or grow or scale or whatever. Like, that's not what this is about. But this is a business and things happen, especially when you deal with like hospitality or, the public or whatever. And then you deal with maintenance guys and cleaners and you deal with gas companies and utility companies. All like, you were there to keep everything together. You were there to keep the train oiled, moved, chugging along. What a lot of people teach or coach or whatever you want to call it represent that it's all rainbows and cupcakes, and it's not always like that. Have your systems in place to nip it at the butt if something happens, but it's not always rainbows and cupcakes. The money's great, the time is great, and there's some things that you got to put up with. So you have to pick your heart, if you will, right? Like, it's hard going to W-2. It's hard to have a boss. It's hard to have no time with the kids. It's hard to have no time with the spouse. It's also hard sometimes dealing with irate guests. We don't deal with a lot of them. Every once in a while, we have some crazy guests come in, and thank God for my team because my team just deals with it most of the time. But it happens, right? Like, things like that happen. And you just have to stand behind what you do as a company. I could go on all day. Like, the ice presented a lot of problems. For guests I had one guest that wanted to stay for free. She was like, I can't get down the street. The street's iced over. So I'm going to come back and you can't charge us. I'm like, no, like, that's not how that works. So she would, every time the team got on the phone call, they were like, I want to talk to Allie. I want to talk to Allie. I want to talk to Allie. So finally Allie got on the phone with her and she's like, look, I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to offer you a 50% discount, but you're going to pay for the night. There's no question. And so they went back and forth, and Allie was just very firm with her and said, like, this isn't a charity. You can't stay at a hotel for free. Like, regardless if you can get out of the parking lot or not, you're not going to stay there for free. You're going to pay for it. Right. So that was a whole nother thing. And so that creates now we don't manage the roads, but we manage the driveway. So there's a process to say, hey, ice is coming in, go get some salt, go get some pool salt or ice melt or whatever. Get the maintenance team to, put out some ice melt, or just leave a couple bags on the front and let the guests do it. Some guests will just throw some out. I mean, it's been left for me when I stayed at a place. So just kind of leaving stuff like that will prevent the ice, especially up there by y'all. I'm sure like ice melt's a big thing, or pool salt's a big thing up there.
Oh yeah.
Just leave it out. Have your maintenance guy go do the driveway. We don't manage the street. That's not that I can't do anything about the street, especially when it's like a mile down the road. There's nothing I can do about that. But, just having some of those systems in place before you rent, or while you're renting, or while you're going through it. Like, it's not to scare you. It's just to show you like real life. And there's ways to handle all of this stuff, especially when you hit 60 doors, and we're on our way to 200 this year. So we've signed some partnerships and some contracts, and at 200 all over the nation, like I say all over the nation, like 4 locations. And so once you get to there, like, there's other things we're going to deal with. I've never dealt with beach area. We're going to be in the beach area. So that's a whole nother thing of SOPs and things that we're going to come out with, and situations and new maintenance guys and all that stuff. So like, we're real people. We have real companies. We deal with real guests. Like, and it's not all cupcakes and rainbows. But that's why you have a team. That's why you have systems. That's why you have maintenance guys. And just nip it at the bud when it happens. Don't sit on your hands. That's probably the biggest thing I can say. Don't sit on your hands. Act quickly, make your decisions, and move on. That's right. It. It's a company, not a charity.
Be able to talk to too when stuff like that comes up also gives you a lot of confidence that, hey, things are going to come up. You know what I mean? And I know that if I go in and ask questions, it's going to be answered. I've got Kyle, which is amazing. I can literally work with him. But we're all here to be able to help. And, ultimately, you're going to go through some stuff. The good thing is that as you go through it, you do grow, your confidence gets better, and you're ready to take on the next client. You're growing your SOPs, and we've already got them all in place. But you're going to learn some stuff the hard way, man. It's just the way it is, but you can do it, and it's worth it. There's no doubt it's worth it.
So to leave you with that, exactly to play off of that, I have somebody that texted me and said, I have an immediate question right now. And I said, send me a voice note. So this is why you get into some kind of community. You ready for this? This is exactly why. Be it PowerPath or wherever, or you resonate with somebody better, I don't care. You need to get around people that are doing this. So I told him, I said, and it's a very close friend of mine too. Over the years we've worked together, and he's developed into a really close friend. He sent me the voice note, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it ultimately is. And I said, send it to me. I'll try to send something back because we got back-to-back meetings today. Possible suspending their account because of a 1-star review 3 months ago because there was mouse droppings in the house 3 months ago. So, and I'm going to finish reading this, but this is real life. This is real things that happen. You can't control mice coming in and out of a house that you don't own. You could do your best, but you're not going to always prevent it. Like, it's going to happen. So I'm not going to read the full thing. I think he's telling me about the situation. They offered a refund, and I'm going to read it and see what they're doing, what they could have done better, what to do on the next one, and maybe how to, postpone a removal or how to fight it and that kind of thing. Cause we deal with that too. Like fighting reviews and fighting suspensions or removals or delistings or whatever. Like we go through it, but being able to bounce those ideas and questions and all that stuff, bringing them up on a call, that is real. Like that is a real message I got at 2:20. No. What time was this? 1:57. 16, 17, 18, 19 minutes ago. 19 minutes ago, I got that message. It's real. Like, it's real. It's a business. Things happen. So you got questions, you can be able to lean on somebody. Of course, we would love to have you in PowerPath if you're looking for something. But if you're not and you're in something else and you just like watching us, you like seeing my beautiful face, we'd love to see you here too. So, but you have to be in something around somebody, not just learning it like one at a time with no information. So you got to be around something. But anyways, I love the time we spend together. I always love seeing you, Sean. We're gonna end this, and if you guys have any question whatsoever, let us know. But we have a PowerPath meetup in New Hampshire next week. Sean's going. I'll be there. We're gonna be with the family. We're going to a hotel that was launched 5 months ago. So if you're in for boutique hotels or you want to just rub elbows with everybody else that's actively doing this, Bartlett, New Hampshire, we're going to be at the Aurora Inn. So if you look up the Aurora Inn, Bartlett, New Hampshire, send me a DM. I can send you a discount code. That's Jeremy's hotel. He just launched 5 months ago. So we're going to go hang out for a few hours. We're flying in from Georgia. We'll be there for a few days. So we'd love to see all of you. And with that, I hope you have a great afternoon, and we will talk to you later.
Later, guys.